Admiral Jake Morrison walked through the main hall of Kepler Prime Station. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. Behind him, Lieutenant Amy Foster and Commander Paul Hayes followed closely. They were the human team at the Galactic Defense. Summit. The station was huge. Bright lights hung from the ceiling. Aliens from many worlds filled the corridors. Some looked like tall, thin birds. Others had blue skin that glowed softly. A few had 4 arms and walked on 6 legs. Jake wore his best uniform. The dark blue fabric had gold stripes on the shoulders. A small Earth flag was sewn on his left sleeve. Amy carried a datapad with ship information. Paul held a metal case with technical drawings. They reached the main meeting room. The doors slid open with a quiet hiss. Inside, hundreds of beings sat around a circular table. The room was so big that Jake could barely see the other side. "The humans have arrived," announced a voice from speakers in the walls. All heads turned to look at them. Some aliens made clicking sounds. Others whistled softly. Jake took his seat between 2 empty chairs. A tall alien with silver skin sat to his left. The being had 3 eyes and no mouth that Jake could see. To his right was a creature that looked like a walking crystal. Light moved through its body in pretty patterns. "Welcome, Admiral Morrison," said Fleet Marshal Kelson from across the table. The Centauri leader had pale skin and large black eyes. His voice was calm and polite. "We are excited to see what Earth brings to our defense forces." Jake nodded. "Thank you, Marshal. We are ready to show you our new ship." A screen dropped from the ceiling. Jake pressed a button on his datapad. The image of a spaceship appeared on the screen. It was big and gray. The hull looked thick and heavy. Weapons stuck out from the sides like spikes. The ship had a square shape that seemed rough and simple. "This is the USS Defiant," Jake said. "Our first deep space warship." The room went quiet for a moment, and someone started laughing. It was a sound like broken glass. More aliens joined in. The noise grew louder and louder. High Admiral Vextar stood up. He was from the Zephyrian Empire. His body was long and thin like a snake. His skin was green and covered in small scales. 2 arms grew from his chest. His head was shaped like a triangle. "This is your warship?" Vextar asked. His voice was high and sharp. "It looks like a flying brick. Where are the curved lines? Where are the energy collectors? This design is from the Stone Age." More laughter filled the room. Crystal Singer Nethera's body flashed bright colors. She was the leader of the Altarian forces. Her people were made of living crystal. "Humans still use metal plates for armor," she said. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "My ship's hull is grown from pure crystal. It can bend light around itself. This human ship cannot even hide from basic sensors." The alien next to Jake made a sound like a computer crashing. Paul leaned forward and whispered, "That was laughter, sir." Jake's face stayed calm. Amy's hands made fists under the table. Paul just stared at his datapad. "The weapons are even worse," said another voice. A 4-armed being with blue fur pointed at the screen. "Those are kinetic cannons. They shoot chunks of metal. My grandmother's cargo ship has better weapons than this." "Look at the engine design," Vextar continued. "Chemical rockets for main power, fusion drives for backup. We stopped using those systems 1,000 years ago. Our ships move by bending space itself." The crystal being next to Jake spoke for the first time. "The computer systems are probably mechanical too. Do humans still use wires and circuits?" More laughter echoed through the room. Some aliens were holding their sides. Others were wiping tears from their eyes. Fleet Marshal Kelson raised his hand. The noise slowly stopped. "Please, friends, let us show respect for our new allies." But even Kelson looked doubtful. His large eyes studied the image of the Defiant. Admiral Morrison, may I ask about your ship's capabilities? What can it do that our vessels cannot? Jake stood up slowly. He looked around the room at all the alien faces. Some were still smiling. Others looked bored. A few seemed almost sorry for the humans. The Defiant represents Earth's commitment to galactic defense, Jake said. His voice was steady and clear. We believe it will serve well in any conflict. But what makes it special? Asked Nethara. Her crystal body was still flashing bright colors. Our ships can travel faster than light without making a ripple. We can fire beams that cut through any known material. We can shield ourselves from any attack. What does your metal box offer? Jake looked at Amy and Paul. They both nodded slightly. You will see, Jake said simply. The room erupted in more laughter. Vexstar was making that broken glass sound again. The four-armed alien was slapping the table with all of his hands. Humans and their mysteries, said a voice from somewhere in the crowd. They probably think we will be impressed by their primitive technology. Maybe they will ram enemy ships, suggested another alien. That seems like something humans would try. Or throw rocks, added a third voice. Humans love throwing things. Jake sat down. The presentation continued with other species showing their ships. The Zephyrian vessels looked like smooth teardrops made of liquid metal. The Altarian ships were beautiful crystal structures that seemed to sing as they moved. The Centauri had white ships that glowed with soft light. Each design was more advanced than the last. Energy weapons that could destroy planets. Shields that could stop anything. Engines that could cross the galaxy in days. The human ship looked worse and worse by comparison. It was ugly, slow, and simple. Everyone in the room could see that. When the meeting ended, aliens filed out in small groups. They were still talking about the human ship. Most of them were still laughing. Jake, Amy, and Paul walked back to their quarters in silence. The corridors seemed longer now. The bright lights felt too harsh. They do not understand, Paul said finally. They will, Jake replied, sooner than they think. Amy looked at her datapad. Message from Earth Command, sir. The Defiant is ready. For deployment, Jake nodded. Good. Something tells me we will need it soon. None of them knew how right he was. Captain Lisa Brooks sat in her command chair on the bridge of the USS Defiant. Red warning lights flashed across the control panels. Her crew worked quickly at their stations. The alarm had been going off for 10 minutes. Report, Lisa said. She was a small woman with short brown hair. Her uniform was clean and pressed. A silver star sat on each shoulder. Long-range sensors are picking up something big, said Lieutenant Kate Sullivan from the weapons station. She was young with blonde hair tied back in a ponytail. Whatever it is, it's huge, Captain. Commander Ryan Clark looked up from his console. He was tall and thin with gray hair at his temples. The readings don't match anything in our database. The ships are completely unknown. Lisa stood up and walked to the main screen. Space looked normal. Stars twinkled in the distance. But the computer was showing red dots moving toward their galaxy. How many ships? Lisa asked. Computer says at least 10,000, Kate replied. But the signatures are weird. They keep changing. Changing how? Like they're learning about our sensors, Ryan explained. Each scan gives us different information. Lisa frowned. That's not possible. A communication came through on the main channel. It was Fleet Marshal Kelzin's voice. All ships, this is Galactic Command. We have detected a massive fleet approaching from the Andromeda Galaxy. All member worlds must send their best warships to the Titan Nebula immediately. This is not a drill. The bridge went quiet. Lisa looked at her crew. They had trained for this moment, But now it was real. "Set course for the Titan Nebula," Lisa ordered. "Maximum speed." "Aye, Captain," said the pilot. The ship turned and accelerated. Stars began to blur past the windows. 3 days later, the Defiant arrived at the meeting point. Lisa stared at the view screen in amazement. Hundreds of alien ships filled the space around them. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. The Zephyrian fleet looked like a school of metal fish. Their ships moved in perfect formation. Green light pulsed along their hulls. High Admiral Vextar's flagship was the largest. It was shaped like a crescent moon with weapons covering every surface. The Altarian ships were pure crystal. They caught starlight and bent it into rainbow patterns. Crystal Singer Netherast's vessel was a work of art. It looked like a giant diamond with facets that moved and changed. The Centauri had brought white ships that glowed like small suns. Fleet Marshal Calzon's command ship was smooth and graceful. Energy flickered around its edges like lightning. Then there was the Defiant. Gray, square, and ugly next to all the beautiful alien vessels. "Incoming transmission," Kate said. "Put it on screen." High Admiral Vestar appeared on the main display. His green scales looked darker than usual. His triangular head moved from side to side. "Captain Brooks," he said. His voice was cold. "You?" "I'll take position in the rear guard. Stay away from the main battle. We do not want your ship getting in the way." "Admiral, we're ready to fight," Lisa said. "The Defiant can handle itself." Vextar made that broken glass laugh. "Your metal box belongs in the back with the supply ships. Let the real warships handle this threat." The communication ended. Lisa's hands made fists. "Orders, Captain?" Ryan asked. "Take us to the rear," Lisa said through her teeth. "But stay ready for anything." The fleet moved into formation. The most advanced ships took the front lines. The Defiant was pushed to the very back with cargo vessels and hospital ships. Then the enemy arrived. Space seemed to tear, open like paper. A black hole appeared in the middle of nowhere. Ships began pouring out of it. They were dark and angular. They absorbed light instead of reflecting it. The hulls looked like they were made of shadow. "My God," Kate whispered, "there are thousands of them." The enemy ships were all different sizes. Some were as small as fighters. Others were bigger than space stations. They moved in patterns that hurt to look at. Geometric shapes that didn't make sense. "What are they?" Ryan asked. "Computer is calling them devourers," Kate said. "According to the database, they're from another galaxy. They eat entire star systems." Lisa watched the alien fleet arrange itself for battle. The Zephyrians took the center. Their green ships glowed brighter. The Altarians spread out on the flanks. Crystal light danced across their hulls. The Centauri formed a reserve behind the main line. "All ships, this is Fleet Marshal Calzon," came the voice over the radio. "The enemy is adapting to our sensor sweeps. Prepare for immediate engagement." The first shots were fired by the Zephyrians. Green beams of plasma lanced out across space. They hit the dark ships and exploded in bright flashes. The alien commanders cheered, but the celebration was short. The second volley of plasma beams hit the same targets. This time, the enemy ships absorbed the energy. The green light disappeared into their black hulls like water into sand. "Impossible," Kate said. "They're adapting to the weapons in real time." The Altarians tried next. Rainbow beams of crystal energy shot from their ships. The first few hits destroyed several Devourer vessels. But then the enemy started absorbing those attacks too. The Centauri opened fire with photon torpedoes. Balls of white light streaked across the battlefield. They worked for a few minutes. Then the Devourers learned to defend against them as well. "Captain," Ryan said urgently, "the enemy is adapting faster than the aliens can change tactics." Lisa watched in horror as the beautiful alien ships started taking damage. Vexstar S flagship lost its main weapon. Crystal Singer Nithara's ship went dark as its power systems failed. The Centauri were falling back already. All ships retreat to secondary positions, Kelzan ordered. His voice sounded scared, but the Devourers pressed their attack. They had learned everything they needed to know. Now they were fighting back with weapons copied from the alien designs. Green plasma, crystal beams, and photon torpedoes fired from the dark ships. The aliens are getting destroyed, Kate said. Their own weapons are being used against them. Captain, Ryan said, Admiral Vexstar is requesting permission to withdraw. Lisa looked at the battle. The pretty alien ships were exploding one by one. The Devourers were winning easily. Soon they would move on to the civilian ships, including the evacuation vessels full of families and children. Sir, we have to do something, Kate said. Admiral Vexstar ordered us to stay back, Ryan reminded. Her Lisa watched another Zephyrian ship explode. She thought about all the people on the transport ships. They couldn't defend themselves. Captain Brooks to Admiral Vexstar, she said. The green alien appeared on screen. His ship was smoking behind him. What do you want, human? Request permission to engage the enemy. Vexstar laughed that broken glass sound. Your primitive ship would be destroyed in seconds. Stay where you are. But, sir, the civilians, that is an order, Captain. The communication ended. Lisa stared at the screen. More alien ships were dying. The Devourers were moving closer to the defenseless transports. Captain, Ryan asked, what are your orders? Lisa looked at her crew. Kate was young but brave. Ryan was experienced and loyal. The rest of the bridge crew watched her with trust. In their eyes, all hands, this is the captain, Lisa announced over the ship's speakers. The alien fleet is being destroyed. Enemy ships are moving toward civilian targets. We've been ordered to stay back and watch. She paused. The bridge was completely quiet. But those are innocent people out there. Families, children, and we have a ship that can fight. Lisa looked at each member of her crew. I'm not going to sit here and do nothing. Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle to one of the transports. But I'm taking the ship into battle. Nobody moved. Kate smiled and turned back to her weapons console. Ryan nodded and checked his systems. The other crew members returned to their duties. All right then, Lisa said. Take us in, full speed. The USS Defiant turned away from the transports and flew toward the battle. Behind them, the alien commanders were too busy running to notice that the humans were disobeying orders. The USS Defiant flew toward the battle at full speed. Captain Lisa Brooks watched the view screen as alien ships exploded around them. The beautiful vessels that had mocked her ship 3 weeks ago were now burning wreckage floating in space. Distance. To enemy fleet? Lisa asked. 2 minutes at current speed, Kate replied from the weapons station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the Devourer ships. They're using every weapon type the aliens had. How is that possible? Ryan asked. He was monitoring the tactical situation. From his console. They learned from each attack, Lisa said. Every time the aliens fired a weapon, these things studied it and copied it. On the main screen, High Admiral Vexstar's flagship was spinning out of control. Half of its hull was gone. Green flames poured from the damaged sections. The proud Zephyrian commander was trying to escape in a small rescue pod. Crystal Singer. Nithara's beautiful ship had gone completely dark. The rainbow lights that had made it so pretty were now just black crystal. No life signs came from inside. Fleet Marshal Calzon is calling for full retreat, Kate reported. The Centauri ships are falling back to the edge of the nebula. Lisa watched the chaos on screen. The Devourers had won the battle in less than an hour. Their dark ships moved through the wreckage like sharks. They were heading straight for the civilian transports. "Captain," Ryan said urgently, "the enemy is targeting the evacuation ships." Lisa could see them on the tactical display. Dozens of large ships full of families trying to escape. They had no weapons and no shields. The Devourers would destroy them all. How long until the enemy reaches the transports? Lisa asked. 8 minutes, Kate answered. And how long until we reach the Devourers? 3 minutes. Lisa stood up from her command chair. All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. Red lights flashed throughout the ship. Crew members ran to their positions. In engineering, the fusion reactors powered up to full output. In the weapon bays, mechanical arms loaded shells into the railguns. "Captain," Ryan said quietly, "we're just one ship against thousands. Are you sure about this?" Lisa looked at him. "Ryan, I've been thinking about what those aliens said. They called our ship primitive. They laughed at our weapons and armor." "They did, Captain. But what if they were wrong? What if different doesn't mean worse?" The Defiant flew past the wreckage of a Zephyrian cruiser. Bodies floated in space. Among the debris, Lisa felt anger building in her chest. "Kate, are the railguns ready?" "All 6 guns loaded and ready, Captain. Tungsten rounds with explosive tips. Kinetic barriers?" "Online and at full power," Ryan reported. "All backup systems ready." The Defiant flew into the edge of the Devourer fleet. The enemy ships were spread out in a loose formation. They were dark and angular, like pieces of a broken mirror. Some were the size of office buildings. Others were as big as cities. "Target the smallest ships first," Lisa ordered. "Let's see how they handle something they haven't seen before." Kate locked onto a Devourer destroyer. It was about the same size as the Defiant, but shaped like a twisted knife blade. "Firing solution ready, Captain." "Fire." The railgun mounted on the front of the Defiant shot a tungsten rod at incredible speed. The metal slug was only 3 feet long, but it weighed 2 tons. It moved at a significant fraction of light speed. The round hit the Devourer ship in the center. It punched through the hull like it was made of paper. The tungsten rod went completely through the enemy vessel and came out the other side. A second later, the explosive tip detonated inside the ship that the Devourer destroyer exploded into 1,000,000 pieces. Direct hit. Kate shouted, "Target destroyed." More Devourer ships turned toward the Defiant. Their sensors were trying to understand what had just happened. They had never seen a weapon like that before. "Captain, the enemy ships are scanning us," Ryan reported. "But they seem confused. Their sensors are designed to detect energy weapons." "Fire again," Lisa ordered. "Different target." Kate targeted a larger Devourer ship. This one looked like a black pyramid with weapons sticking out of every face. The railgun fired again. Another tungsten rod streaked across space. It hit the pyramid ship near the base. The round drilled through 3 levels of armor before exploding inside. The pyramid folded in on itself and disappeared in a bright flash. "2 ships down," Kate said. "The enemy is trying to adapt to our weapons." Lisa watched the tactical display. The Devourer ships were moving differently now. They were trying to figure out how to defend against kinetic weapons. "Captain," Ryan sighed, 3 enemy ships are approaching fast. They're firing at us." Green plasma beams and crystal energy bolts shot toward the Defiant. Lisa gripped her chair as the ship shook. "Shields holding," Ryan reported. "But that's strange. The impacts feel different." "Different how?" "The kinetic barriers are absorbing the energy and spreading it across the hull. It's like the ship is built to handle this kind of attack." More enemy ships opened fire. Rainbow beams, photon torpedoes, and plasma cannons all hit the Defiant at once. The ship shook and rolled, but it didn't break apart. Hull integrity at 85%, Ryan said with surprise. Captain, our armor is designed to absorb and redistribute energy impacts. The aliens built their ships to avoid being hit. We built ours to take a beating. Lisa smiled. Fire all guns. Continuous barrage. All 6 railguns on the Defiant began firing as fast as they could reload. Tungsten rods streaked out in all directions. Each shot found a different target. Devourer ships began exploding throughout the fleet. The enemy had adapted to energy weapons by learning to absorb them. But kinetic weapons were different. They were solid matter moving very fast. You couldn't absorb a chunk of metal traveling at light speed. The enemy is trying to use kinetic barriers like ours, Kate reported. But they're not working. Their ships aren't built for it. Keep firing, Lisa ordered. Don't give them time to adapt. The battle continued for 20 minutes. The Defiant flew through the middle of the Devourer fleet like a shark among minnows. Tungsten rounds destroyed ship after ship. The enemy tried everything they could think of, but nothing worked. Captain, Ryan said excitedly, I'm monitoring their communications. The Devourers are confused. They've never encountered weapons like ours. What are they saying? They're calling us the metal throwers. They don't understand how we're winning. Lisa looked at the tactical display. Half of the Devourer fleet was gone. The other half was trying to retreat. Kate, target their largest ship, the one that looks like a cathedral. The main Devourer command ship was enormous. It was shaped like a dark church with spires and flying buttresses. Weapons covered every surface. It was the size of a small moon. Captain, that thing is huge. Kate said, our rounds might not be able to penetrate it. We'll see. Load armor-piercing rounds and guns 1 through 4. High explosive in guns 5 and 6. The railguns fired in sequence. 4 tungsten rods with pointed tips hit the command ship in different places. They drilled deep into the hull. Then the explosive rounds hit the same spots. The massive ship shuddered. Cracks appeared along its surface. Internal explosions lit up the dark hull from inside. It's working, Kate shouted. The command ship is taking critical damage. But the Devourer flagship wasn't finished. Every weapon on its hull turned toward the Defiant. Hundreds of energy beams shot out at once. Incoming fire, Ryan warned. All energy types. The Defiant disappeared in a ball of light, as every kind of weapon the Devourers had learned hit it. At the same time, plasma, crystal beams, photon torpedoes, and fusion bombs all exploded against the human ship. When the light faded, the Defiant was still there. The hull was blackened and smoking, but the ship was intact. Hull integrity at 40%, Ryan reported. But we're still here. Lisa looked at the command ship. It was listing to one side, and fires were visible through cracks in the hull. One more time, she said. All guns, fire. 6 tungsten rods hit the Devourer command ship at the same time. The massive vessel broke apart like a toy. Explosions rippled along its length as internal systems failed. In seconds, the pride of the Devourer fleet was nothing but debris. Command ship destroyed, Kate announced. The remaining Devourer ships suddenly stopped moving. Without their command vessel, they seemed lost and confused. Captain, Ryan said in amazement, the entire fleet is shutting down. They're just floating there. Lisa sat back in her command chair. Around them, thousands of dead Devourer ships drifted in space like black tombstones. Status report, she said. All enemy vessels destroyed or disabled, Kate reported. No active threats detected. Damage to our ship? Hull. Damage. Some system failures, but nothing critical, Ryan said. We can make repairs. Lisa looked at the main screen. In the distance, she could see alien rescue ships moving toward the wreckage of their fleet. The beautiful vessels that had mocked the Defiant were now just floating metal. Captain, Kate said quietly, "We did it. We actually did it." "Yes," Lisa said, "we did. And now everyone will know what human engineering can really do." Captain Lisa Brooks stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant and watched the rescue operations through the main view screen. Alien ships moved slowly through the debris field, searching for survivors. The beautiful vessels that had laughed at her ship were now twisted metal floating in space. "Captain," Kate said from the weapons station, "we're getting communication requests from every surviving alien commander." "Put Fleet Marshal Calzon through first," Lisa replied. The Centauri leader appeared on the main screen. His large black eyes were wide with shock. Behind him, his bridge was dark and smoking. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. "Captain Brooks," Calzon said. His calm voice was gone. Now he sounded amazed and confused. "How is your ship still functional? The Devourers hit you with everything they had." Lisa looked at Ryan, who nodded back at her. They had talked about this moment during their long journey to the battle. "Marshal, our ship was designed differently than yours," Lisa explained. "Human engineers think about problems in their own way. But the weapons that destroyed you, they did not destroy you." "How?" Ryan stepped forward. "Sir, may I explain the technical details?" "Please do, Commander." Ryan activated the ship's holographic display. A three-dimensional image of the Defiant appeared in the air above the bridge. "Our hull isn't made from one type of material," Ryan began. "It's built in layers. Each layer does a different job." The hologram showed the inside of the ship's armor. It looked like a sandwich with many different layers. "The outer layer is ceramic composite," Ryan continued. "It breaks apart when hit by energy weapons, but breaking apart is the point. It spreads the energy across a wider area. Under that is a layer of metal foam," Kate added. She had learned about the ship's design during her training. "The foam absorbs kinetic impacts and heat. Then comes the main structural layer," Ryan said. "Titanium and carbon fiber woven together. It's flexible, so it bends instead of breaking." Fleet Marshal Calzon stared at the hologram. "Your ship is designed to be damaged?" "Yes, sir," Lisa said. "Our engineers knew we couldn't avoid being hit, so they built a ship that could survive being hit." "But what about your weapons?" Calzon asked. "The Devourers adapted to our energy beams in minutes. How did your ... kinetic cannons ... continue to work?" Lisa smiled. "Because we don't fire energy, Marshal. We fire chunks of metal." The hologram changed to show one of the Defiant's railguns. It was a simple design compared to alien weapons. Just magnetic coils around a metal rail. The railgun uses magnetic fields to accelerate a tungsten rod, Kate explained. The rod weighs 2 tons and moves at a large fraction of light speed. When it hits a target, it doesn't rely on energy transfer, Ryan added. It just punches a hole through whatever is in the way. The Devourers couldn't adapt because there's nothing to adapt to, Lisa finished. It's just a very fast chunk of metal. Calzon was quiet for a long moment. "Your weapons are ... primitive, but they work. Sometimes simple is better," Lisa said. Another communication came through. High Admiral Vextar appeared on a second screen. He was in a rescue pod, floating among the wreckage of his flagship. His green scales looked pale, and his triangular head hung low. "Human Captain," Vextar said. His voice had lost its sharp, mocking tone. I must apologize for my words at the summit." "No need, Admiral," Lisa replied politely. "But there is a need," Vextar insisted. "I called your ship a flying brick. I said it belonged in the Stone Age. I was wrong. Admiral, your ships are beautiful and advanced, Lisa said. They're faster than ours and have better sensors. But they could not save us, Vextar said bitterly. Your ugly metal box destroyed an entire fleet that we could not even scratch. Crystal Singer Nethera's voice came through on a third channel. Her crystal body was cracked and dim, but she was alive in a rescue pod from her ship. Captain Brooks, she said. Her wind chime voice was soft and sad. My people pride ourselves on our advanced technology. We grow our ships from living crystal. We bend light itself to our will. Your ships are works of art, Lisa said sincerely. I've never seen anything so beautiful. Beautiful but useless, Ithara replied. When the Devourers learned to counter our weapons, we became helpless. But your simple metal weapons continued to work. Ryan looked at the tactical display. Captain, the alien commanders are asking about our other systems. They want to understand how we build things differently. Lisa nodded. Show them our computer network. The hologram changed again. This time it showed the ship's computer systems. Instead of one central computer, there were hundreds of smaller ones connected by physical cables. Most of your ships use quantum computers connected by energy fields, Lisa explained. Very fast and very efficient, but easy for an enemy to hack, Kate added. The Devourers got into your systems within minutes. Our computers are isolated from each other, Ryan said. Each system handles one job. If the enemy hacks one computer, they can't reach the others. Plus, we have manual backups for everything, Kate continued. If all the computers fail, humans can still operate the ship. Manual backups? Vextar asked. You mean ... using your hands? Yes, sir, Lisa said. Every critical system has physical controls. Humans can fire the weapons, steer the ship, and control life support without computers. That is ... double quotes. Kelson paused, searching for words. Redundant. Inefficient. But it works, Lisa said. When your advanced systems failed, our simple ones kept going. Another alien voice joined the conversation. It was Captain Terhall of the Hegemony Forces. His people looked like giant insects with 4 arms and compound eyes. Captain Brooks, Terhall said. My ships use neural interface controls. The pilot thinks, and the ship responds instantly, much faster than manual controls. That sounds amazing, Lisa said. But the Devourers learned to interfere with our neural links, Terhall continued. My pilots became confused and disoriented. Some could not control their ships at all. Our pilots use physical controls, Kate said. Switches, buttons, and steering wheels. Nothing to hack or interfere with. Steering wheels? Nethera asked. Like ancient ground vehicles? Exactly like that, Ryan said with a grin. Simple and reliable. The alien commanders were quiet for several minutes. They were all thinking about what they had learned. Finally, Fleet Marshal Kelson spoke. Captain Brooks, I have a question. Did your engineers know that your simple systems would work better against adaptive enemies? Lisa looked at her crew. Honestly, Marshal, we didn't know we would face enemies like the Devourers. But human engineers always assume that something will go wrong. We planned for failure, Ryan added. Every system has a backup. Every backup has a backup. We don't build things to be perfect, Kate said. We build things to keep working when they break. And everything breaks eventually, Lisa finished. Vextar made a sound that might have been laughter, but not the mocking kind from Vanprim. Before, you humans planned to fail. We planned for failure, Lisa corrected. There's a difference. Yes, Kelson said slowly. Yes, I think I understand now. Your ship is not primitive. It is practical. Thank you, Marshal. Captain, Ithara said. Would your engineers be willing to share their knowledge with us? My people would like to learn about redundant systems and manual backups. And kinetic weapons, Vextar added. I want to understand how they work. I think that can be arranged, Lisa said. Human engineers love to explain their work. Ryan was monitoring the sensor readings. Captain, the civilian transports are requesting permission to approach. They want to thank us for saving them. Lisa looked at the tactical display. Dozens of large ships were moving toward the Defiant. These were the vessels they had saved. Ships full of families and children who would have died if the humans hadn't acted. Permission granted, Lisa said. Tell them they're welcome to approach. As the transport ships drew closer, Lisa felt proud of her crew and her ship. The Defiant might not be beautiful like the alien vessels. It might not be fast or elegant or advanced, but it had done something that all the pretty ships couldn't do. It had kept fighting when everything else failed. It had saved lives when others could only run away. Captain, Kate said quietly. Message from Admiral Morrison on Earth. He wants a full report. Tell him we'll have a lot to report, Lisa said. And tell him the aliens want to learn about human engineering. I think they're going to want to build ships like ours, Ryan said. Lisa nodded. Good. Maybe next time we won't be the only ones who can fight back. The rescue operations continued around them. But now the aliens weren't just picking up survivors. They were studying the wreckage, trying to understand what had gone wrong and how the humans had gone right. 6 months after the battle at Titan Nebula, Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the main hall of the new Kepler station. This time, the meeting was different. The aliens didn't laugh when he walked into the room. Instead, they stood up and bowed, their heads with respect. The table was still circular, but now the human delegation sat in the center. Jake was flanked by Captain Lisa Brooks and Commander Paul Hayes. Lisa wore a new uniform with extra medals on her chest. Paul carried a briefcase full of technical blueprints that every alien species wanted to see. Welcome back, Admiral Morrison, said Fleet Marshal Calzin. The Centauri leader's voice was warm and grateful. We are honored to have Earth's representatives here today. Jake nodded politely. Thank you, Marshal. We're glad to be here. Admiral, said Crystal Singer Nethara. Her crystal body was brighter than before, fixed after the battle damage. Our scientists have been studying the reports from the Defiant's encounter with the Devourers. We would like to understand more about human engineering principles. Of course, Jake replied. Captain Brooks can explain the technical details. Lisa stood up and activated a holographic projector. The image of a new ship appeared above the table. It looked like the Defiant, but larger and more advanced. This is the USS Resilience, Lisa began. Our second-generation deep space warship. We built it using lessons learned from the Devourer battle. The alien delegates leaned forward to study the hologram. The ship was still angular and practical-looking, but it had new features that caught their attention. The hull design is similar to the Defiant, Lisa continued. Layered armor with ceramic composite, metal foam, and titanium carbon fiber weave. But now we've added adaptive plating that can reconfigure itself during battle. High Admiral Vex Tar raised one of his thin arms. His green scales had grown back their shine since the rescue. Captain Brooks, my engineers have tried to copy your kinetic weapons, but our versions are not as effective as yours. Why? Lisa smiled. Admiral, may I ask how your engineers approached the problem? They used computer modeling to design the perfect projectile, Vextar answered. Mathematical calculations to determine optimal mass, shape, and velocity. That's the difference, Paul said, opening his briefcase. Human engineers don't try to build perfect weapons. We build weapons that work even when they're not perfect. Paul pulled out a metal rod. It was rough and simple compared to the elegant alien tools around the table. This is a tungsten penetrator round, Paul explained. It's not perfect. The weight isn't exactly calculated. The shape isn't mathematically optimal. But it works every time. Why? Asked Captain Terhall of the hegemony. His insect-like compound eyes studied the simple metal rod. Because we tested it by shooting it at things, Lisa said. We didn't just model it on computers. We built thousands of these rounds and fired them at targets until we found what worked. Trial and error, Jake added. Human engineers learn by breaking things. The aliens looked confused. Crystal singer Nathara spoke up. But surely computer modeling is more efficient than physical testing? Maybe, Paul said. But computers can only model what you tell them to model. Reality is messier than computer. Simulations. Lisa activated another hologram. This one showed the battle at Titan Nebula from the Defiance perspective. The Devourers adapted to your weapons because they could analyze the energy patterns and copy them, Lisa explained. But they couldn't adapt to our kinetic weapons because there was nothing to analyze. A chunk of metal moving fast is just physics, Paul added. You can't reprogram physics. Fleet Marshal Kelson stood up. Captain Brooks, Admiral Morrison, my government has authorized me to make a formal request. The Centauri Republic would like to purchase human-designed warships. As would the Zephyrian Empire, Nextar said quickly. And the Altarian Collective. Nethara added soon. Every alien delegate at the table was making the same request. They all wanted ships built like the defiant Jake held up his hand for quiet. We appreciate your interest. But Earth's policy is not to sell weapons to other worlds. The aliens looked disappointed. Some began to protest. However, Jake continued, we are willing to share our engineering knowledge. We can teach your shipbuilders how to think like human engineers. What do you mean? Asked Kelson. Paul stood up and walked to the holographic display. Human engineering is based on 3 principles. First, assume everything will break. He pointed to different parts of the ship. Every system has a backup. Every backup has a backup. Nothing is perfect, so we plan for failure. Second, Lisa continued, simple is better than complex. The more complicated something is, the more ways it can go wrong. Third, Jake finished, test everything in the real world. Computers are useful, but they can't replace actual experience. The alien delegates were taking notes frantically. This was completely different from their approach to engineering. Admiral, said a new voice. It was Ambassador Selphara of the Galactic Council. She was an ancient being from a species so old that nobody remembered their real name. There is another matter we must discuss. The room grew quiet. Ambassador. Selphara rarely spoke at these meetings. The Devourers came from the Andromeda Galaxy, she continued. Our long-range sensors have detected movement in other galaxies as well. More machine fleets are coming. A chill ran through the room. The aliens had barely survived one Devourer attack. The thought of facing more was terrifying. How many? Jake asked. Unknown, Selphara replied. But they are larger than the first fleet, much larger. When will they arrive? Lisa asked. The nearest fleet will reach our galaxy in 18 months, the ambassador said. We must be ready. Jake looked around the table at all the alien faces. They were scared, but they were also determined. Then we have work to do, Jake said. Earth will help train your engineers and shipbuilders. We'll share everything we know about practical engineering. But in return, Lisa added, we need access to your advanced technologies. Your computers, sensors, and propulsion systems are far better than ours. Agreed, said Kelson immediately. Yes, Vextar said. Combined human practicality with alien advancement. We can build ships that are both advanced and reliable, Nethera added. Over the next several hours, they worked out the details. Alien. Engineers would train on Earth, learning human approaches to design and testing. Human engineers would visit alien worlds, studying their advanced technologies. "There's one more thing," Jake said as the meeting ended. "Captain Brooks will command the joint fleet when the next Devourer attack comes." The aliens looked surprised. Some seemed ready to object. "Admiral," Vextar said carefully, "Captain Brooks is skilled, but she has less experience than some of our commanders." "She has experience fighting Devourers," Jake replied firmly. "That's more important than anything else." "The Admiral is right," Kelson said. "Captain Brooks understands how to fight an adaptive enemy. We do not." "I will follow her orders," Nathara said. "As will I," added Tor single quotes, held out one by one. Every alien commander agreed to serve under human leadership. Lisa felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "I won't let you down," she said. "We know you won't," Vextar replied. "You saved. Use once. We trust you to do it again." As the meeting broke up, aliens approached the human delegation with technical questions. They wanted to understand everything about human engineering philosophy. Jake watched Lisa explaining kinetic barriers to a group of Centauri engineers. She was patient and clear, just like she had been during the battle. "Admiral," Paul said quietly, "do you think we can really stop the next attack?" Jake looked around the room. Aliens and humans were working together, sharing knowledge and building trust. The species that had mocked Earth's primitive technology were now eager to learn from it. "Paul," Jake said, "6 months ago, everyone in this room thought human engineering was a joke. Now they're begging us to teach them. That's true, sir. We showed them that different doesn't mean wrong. That simple can be better than complex. That planning for failure is smarter than assuming success." Jake watched Lisa demonstrate a manual backup system to a fascinated group of Altarian crystalsmiths. "The next Devourer fleet will be bigger and more dangerous," Jake continued, "but it will face something the First Fleet never encountered." "What's that, sir?" Jake smiled. "A galaxy full of species that learn to think like humans. Ships that are built to survive damage instead of avoiding it. Weapons that can't be copied or adapted to. Engineers who test their designs by breaking them." Paul nodded slowly. "And Captain Brooks leading the fleet." "And Captain Brooks leading the fleet," Jake agreed. As they left the station, Jake felt confident about the future. The galaxy had learned an important lesson from Earth's prototype ship. Sometimes the best solution wasn't the most advanced or elegant one. Sometimes the best solution was the one that kept working when everything else failed. The USS Defiant had started as a joke, a primitive metal box that aliens mocked and dismissed. But it had become something much more important. It had become proof that human ingenuity could save the galaxy. And when the next threat came, they would be ready.